Matt Rhule, head coach, Nebraska Cornhuskers. That sentence a year ago, what does that sound like to you?
A year ago, I would probably have been like, interesting. Right now, I'm loving it. It's been great.
So when you go through the process, you go through a process that 99.9% of the population will never experience. You coached in the NFL, and now you're courted by several major college programs. And frankly, you could have just gone and done nothing if you wanted to as well, or media. So how do you choose and how do you prioritize? Here's what I actually want to do.
You know, Josh, I was kind of like, I'm going to wait and find the right place. Like, I don't want to keep moving my family. And so I was like, let's find the right one. So I talked to a bunch of different people and went up and did a little bit of media and looked at that. And I talked to Trev Alberts. And when I talked to Trev, I was like, interesting. Like, the way he sees the game and football's kind of how I see it. And went out and took a look. Normally, as a college coach, you don't ever get to go visit. I went and visited. I was like, I'm going to see what this place is like. So went out and visited Lincoln and took my wife to Ireland for a couple of days just to get away. And at the end, we said, you know what, this is the right place for us. So it was a unique process, unlike many that I've been through.
It's a unique time, and I'm speaking as an outsider here. I'm looking at the Big Ten. A lot's been made of the media rights money that's being pumped into the conference. And I don't mean this as disrespect to anyone who came before you or elsewhere, but you look at a program like Nebraska, look at a program like Wisconsin. We talked to Luke Fickell earlier today, and there's a certain sense of leveling up at the head coaching position. There's a certain sense of leveling up in terms of infrastructure to kind of meet the added spotlight that's on the conference. Now, that's me as an outsider. I'm curious if you pay attention to that or even care about that.
I don't know. I don't know that I don't care about it. I just, to me, it's like I'm so caught up every day in like, what do we need to do? Because, you take a job, you don't know what it's going to be like when you get on the inside, right? And so when I didn't see the new facility until I got there. When I saw it, like, I was like, man, like, we have everything we need to compete here. When I started looking at like, the budget, the infrastructure, hey, what can we spend in recruiting? What can we spend in nutrition? Like, it's all there. We have everything we need to be successful. So to me, when Nebraska was in its heyday, it was on the cutting edge. Like, everyone came to Lincoln to study sports science, weightlifting, nutrition, all those things. Like, we need to do that again. We need to be on the cutting edge so everyone comes out to us. That's what makes Nebraska unique if we do it right.
You just said something that kind of triggered a memory I had. I remember when I was back in high school, it was a big deal that I walked in the weight room one day at Harris County High School down in Harris County, Georgia, and there's a little pad of paper and everyone's whispering, hey, we got the Nebraska workout. Hey, we got the Nebraska workout over here. Cutting edge is not something that people have necessarily attributed to the program over the last several years, but you've been around plenty long enough to remind people, maybe who are younger, what that N logo once meant.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. I think about what Nebraska meant to me as a young Penn State fan, and seeing it, the kickoff classic, and then you talk about the 90s, I talk about the 80s into the 90s. I mean, played for the national championship in 2001, going into 2002. So it certainly can be done. I mean, that's the message to me is like, it has been done, so which means it can be done. Now, how do we do it? How do we get back to that point? And that's a process, and that's you have to be very strategic in your thought process. But I know it can be done.
I'm going to ask you one more question about you, and I'm going to get to the team. Some guys, when they're leaving a job, they want to take a year off and recharge, and other guys say, no, I got plenty of energy. I don't need that at all. Where were you, just in terms of your overall battery?
Yeah, I think I went into the season knowing that if things didn't work out, I'd probably take a year off and just kind of catch my breath, get myself mentally right and go back to work, get my family right. My son was he's going into his senior year. We wanted him to finish in Charlotte. But I got fired early, and so I had plenty of time, and so I'm watching college football. I'm talking to my buddies in coaching. I had time off. I had a bunch of Saturdays where I could watch the game, and so I wasn't in a rush. I just wanted, I was afforded the time to find the right place, and so I need to coach. I love to coach. If I didn't take a job, I probably was going to coach high school in Charlotte. Like, I love it, and my family loves it, and so we jumped at it.
I feel like you were at Baylor 15 minutes ago, and yet you come to Nebraska and the transfer portal is totally different. Yeah. And it sort of revolutionized what you can do in terms of talent acquisition in a short period of time. Now, your feelings on it notwithstanding, how much of a godsend was that for you guys immediately at Nebraska?
Oh, I mean, no doubt. And really what came along with the portal was when they limited the 25 limit. Like when I went to Baylor, I was able to sign 4 guys mid-year, count them back, and then go out and sign, I think I signed like 28, 29 guys that first year when I needed to sign like 50, So that slowed down the transition. To be able to come in and have guys come in, not have to worry about how many guys we brought in, that was pivotal. So the portal and the new rules, they've obviously benefited us.
I know you're good friends with Jeff Collins. Mm-hmm. He had Jeff Sims down at Georgia Tech, and I was someone who watched Jeff Sims a lot, and I said, oh man, come on, like I feel like there's so much more that can be squeezed out of him, and you got him now, and you've spoken glowingly of him throughout spring and summer workouts even. What kind of player can he be?
I think he could be one of the best players in football. He can be a preeminent player in the Big Ten. I think he's a triple threat, man. He can throw it, he can run it, and he's got a mindset that you need to play quarterback. Like he's smart, he can check plays, change plays, beat protections, beat blitzes with protections. I just think, he played as a freshman, he played as a sophomore, got hurt a little bit of his junior. We've coached him hard. He likes to be coached, comes from a great family, and I think he's going to do really good things.
What kind of characteristics do I have to have if I want to coach for you?
I think you have to have the same philosophy that I have, and that's that, I want to make sure that every player that plays for us 10, 20, 30 years down the line says, my life's better because I played for him. I don't need coaches who only coach like the really talented players. We coach everybody. And if the bottom third of our roster is really engaged and feels great, then we'll have a really good team. If you have that, then you better just be really, really mentally tough, because good enough's never good enough, right? Like, we're going to be critical of everything that we do. And if you're defensive or anything, you're not going to make it real long. So if you love people and want to help them have good lives, if you're really, really tough and you can work hard, then all I ask is that you be a great teacher. If you can do those things, you can be a great football coach. That translates into recruiting. That translates into relationships. It translates into play calling and game day.
Then on the other side, when you have to get introspective, when you, for lack of a better term, when you self-scout yourself and use the resources, whoever you lean on, how frequent is that process, even if it's as frequent as day to day? And how often do you sit back and honestly look at a pretty major thing and say, I got to evolve here, I got to change this?
I was blessed in that I had time to really look at, like, hey, you just did 10 years of being a head coach, 3 jobs, 2 successful, 1 unsuccessful. Let's write down how we want to do it moving forward. What was good, what was bad, what needs to change. So I had that time. But I'd say historically, like I probably weekly will say, hey, what do I need to do better? What do we need to do better? I think that's really important. I've grown to do that with players. It kind of shocks them when I ask them that. And I start every year off by saying, hey guys, this is what I'm going to improve this year. Like, this is what Matt's going to be better at this year. Because when I do the things I know I should do, and sometimes it's hard, man, in adverse times, sit down one-on-one with guys, talk to a bunch of players one-on-one, go have breakfast with them. That's what creates winning. And you know what? Sometimes you start to get a little bit away from that, right? Well, let's watch one more film. I got to watch one more cut up. I'll grab him later. And every once in a while I need to be rocked and brought back to my, hey, coach, this is what we do here. I've got 13 of my former players working for me, so they will respectfully, but they'll love to do it. They'll tell me, hey, coach, you're wrong. We need to do this.
You've been on some teams that ended up going on to have poor records. You've been part of teams that have had wonderful records. So you know what those kind of rosters normally look like, and you know what the under the hood portion of it's like. What do you think this year's team can be? I
think we can compete. I mean, I think we can. I think we should be a winning team. I think we should compete to win every game. I mean, there's not a team I say, man, we can't compete against these guys, and there's not a team that I say, like, oh, we'll beat these guys no matter what. Like, we're kind of one of those teams, like, we're going to be in every game. But look back in Nebraska the last however many years. Like, they've been in every game pretty much. It's just, it's been like, hey, we this play happened bad in the fourth quarter, that play happened bad in the fourth quarter, and the games got away from them at times. So for me, it's about, we don't need to get a ton better. We need to get 2, 3, 4 more plays better so we can win games in the fourth quarter.
Matt Rhule, we appreciate it.
Hey, good to see you, bud.